Allow it to flow.
Wow. My God. Felt like this was the first time I've looked into my own eyes in decades. You're damn good at this. Like, you're on the right path, man. Like, this is.
Who you're about to meet today is truly a beautiful spirit that I had the absolute pleasure to run a guidance session for at no cost, in exchange that we're able to upload it here on YouTube to inspire others, and at the same time allow me to show how my method to dealing with self-sabotage actually works in practice. So sit back, relax, and watch all the way to the end. There is a bit of a build up to it, but it is worth it. You will see someone see themselves for the very first time in decades. So, firstly, let's start off. I want you to just talk a little bit about yourself and what is it exactly you want me to help you with today?
So I am, well, I'll be 39 next week, actually. Just realized that the other day. I'm a musician, a creative. I care a lot about people. I'm a former musician. I grew up back and forth between, I grew up in the States, but also I would spend several months in Italy every year. My father's side of the family immigrated over and wanted to be a musician my whole life. Ended up becoming a professional musician for the better part of 10 years, but there's been a lot of family issues, trials, and a lot of things that kind of kept me from um, establishing really like a positive or even a neutral narrative and self-worth and so developed a lot of people pleasing tendencies and really eventually found myself finding that all of my worth just kind of began to live into whatever I could do for someone else. And eventually I found that, my own inspiration, my own identity began to get lost. Is the best way that I can put it is that with my family situations, and just to preface with the family, my father was a drug addict, alcoholic, heavy gambler, kind of a bit of a con artist, very charismatic guy. Also, ex-professional boxer, which is one of the reasons why I box. I can get into that later. But he decided to leave this world in 2015, and that was 2 years after I cut off my ties with him because I could no longer try to help. And eventually, the things that I love to do, like my music and everything, it also began to. There was a lot of pressure for me to be successful in that so that it could save my family from themselves. My father and all these things, I just always wanted them to be okay, and I thought that maybe if and get their love and approval. And um and so now I deal with, between the narratives growing up, the things that I'm trying to find is just getting my own identity back, listening to my hearing my own voice, and being able to get inspiration again. There's a lot of guilt and shame and a lot of resentment that I deal with, and I'd say those are probably the biggest issues that I feel that are the biggest resistances right now from me being able to get back my creativity and create for myself, really for the first time.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear about that with your father. I know I can't imagine. So that must have been very heavy, and I appreciate you sharing that. And I have my
Yeah, there's
notes
a
over
lot
here.
more loss for sure, but there's been a lot of loss, and I've made my way through it.
Okay, that's
Still
really good,
here.
man. Well, I mean, you have a different energy to you. You seem like you've alchemized it pretty well, all things considered. Just by the lift in your energy, you don't really have too much of a weight as I speak to you. So you've definitely done something really good. So if I just kind of review it, so yeah, so guilt, shame, and resentment. You feel like you have no voice, and you feel like you've never been enough. So that's kind of summarizing the general emotional state that you've been in.
Yeah,
And how long
pretty
has that
much.
been?
Pretty much for most of my life, I was trying to chase that. And I started kind of creating the joke of like, oh, I'm people pleasing for somebody because I just want daddy to love me and be okay. Or I just want nona and nono to, you know, respect and accept me, those kind of things. And then also the best way I could put it with the way I was raised is that essentially, and just throughout my life, to feel worthy of someone, I felt like I would have to break my bones in order to walk and move in the way that they wanted. And so it was for a very long time, and really only in the past year have I really started trying to essentially re-break those bones to reset them and learn how I remember how I walked and how I moved originally. I was kind of this like substance monster of just, the people pleaser and the caring uh person who wants beauty in the world kind of turned into like this grotesque
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to almost warp into
Mhm.
the figure that you were apparently supposed to be in to some level. And how old are you
Yeah.
currently?
I'm 38. I'll be 39 next week.
Okay.
And that's another thing, being almost 40. And I'm trying to be like, okay, spent the first 40 years of my life taking care of others. Now I want to spend the last half of my life trying to take care of myself and be stronger while also still being able to take care of others within the confines of my boundaries and limitations,
Hmm.
put good, beautiful things in the world.
Tell me a little bit about music to you. What does music do for you? What kind of music do you like to? How does it express for you?
Well, music is really the best way that I've ever been able to express myself. I do a little bit of comedy and characters and things too, but music is the main thing. And music is freedom. Music is an expression and a connection with other people in a way that words can't describe, and it is sort of a universal connection, and it allows somebody else to, it's something that can be anything that you need. And that's what I love it. Like currently I'm writing some music and the whole theme of it is just getting lost in something beautiful. But it can also be, the song can be the shoulder that you cry on, somebody that you're celebrating with, somebody that you're just getting crazy in the club with, it's whatever you need it to be. It is just this beautiful landscape of just emotional colors that can envelop anyone that listens. And even if it's in English, somebody else can feel the melody and the composition and still get the same feeling, because you don't even necessarily you may not need the words, it's just the music moves. And it is a pure visceral connection, in art, and a freedom of expression and a freedom to just be yourself. um it's just music to me is kind of life, you know?
Okay. Can we touch a little bit on the earliest memory where this guilt, shame, resentment, this performer to some degree that you had to step into? When's
Mhm.
the earliest memory that this started to happen? That you felt you had to become this?
It's always been there, but really a very, very young memory, I want to say, is maybe when I was about 5 years old, and my mom made me go downstairs. But I kind of remember my dad, he was very drunk, and um I kind of tumbled down the stairs a little bit. I think he like pushed me. My mom helped me get down the stairs, but then I heard a whole bunch of stuff breaking and my mom crying and yelling, um and I remember that moment. I was just like, I want my mom to be okay. I want my dad to stop being like this. And then even in the first, well, no, maybe it was, what was it, the second time that they separated, I guess, when I was around like 11 or 12, I went and lived with my father because I was so worried that he would hurt himself or just be too drunk or too high, that, I was worried he was just going to die. So I lived with him. And actually I tried to, cross the Rainbow Bridge on my own when I was 12 as well. And I have dealt with a lot of those ideations throughout my life. It's all of those themes are like, well, maybe if I'm good enough. Also, there was Roman Catholicism and then also Pentecostal Christianity. So it was a lot of guilt. It was a lot of, if you're not a good boy, then God's not going to save your dad, those kind of things, you know and yeah, and there was a lot of withholding of love and like acceptance of who I was. I got looked at like I had two heads all the time. I was very, precocious and free, but also, I wasn't like the manliest boy either. So
Can we
and I
stay
was
there a little bit? Can we stay there?
Yeah,
What do you
yeah,
mean
for sure.
by you you weren't the man that they wanted you to be? What does a man look like in their eyes? And then what? was it that you were doing that just wasn't overlapping with what they wanted?
Oh, really? Pretty much. It was a lot of different things for sure. But my father's side of the family, they immigrated from Italy in the 70s. Um, and so they're from Ponza, tiny little island, poor fishermen, carpenter folk, salt of the earth type. But these are just tough island folk that have just, I mean, they didn't even have plumbing on the island until the 60s. So these people were just catching fish and hunting and all of this stuff. And so, growing up, my father was a boxer you know, and to connect with him, I would box, but I didn't like to hurt things and I didn't want to punch things, but or like they wanted to hunt, and so I was a good shot as a kid, but I would purposely miss the birds. And I actually have a very traumatic memory of one time my father shot a bird when I was about like I think it was 10, and it was a dove. And this was the weird thing to me with the hunting. They hunted doves, but they're also Roman Catholic and Pentecostal. And the dove is the Jesus bird. And so as a child, I'm like, why are we shooting the Jesus bird? What this is Jesus. Like this is what? Anyway, I'm sorry. Um, you know, yeah. But it was a lot of those kind of things, or even like they wanted me to play sports. I wanted to play the violin, or like my first soccer game, I was picking flowers with the one girl on the team because I thought they were pretty flowers rather than chasing around the ball. So there was always like Vic's a little Vito un po' strano, like Vic's a little weird.
Okay, is that what that means?
Yeah, yeah, strano's like strange, yeah.
Okay, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So, okay, so what's coming to mind right now for me is where do you predominantly exist? Do you predominantly exist in your head, in your heart, or more within your soul area, intuition state?
It's a lot of the soul intuition state. Actually, I just want to mention that soul-led video that you put out a couple months back. That really resonated because I felt like I was thinking about it today. I knew we were going to meet, and all those things that you were talking about in that video of like wanting to live a soul-led life. I felt like that as a kid, where it's like I just wanted to be inspired and, oh, you need help? Okay, let me help you. Oh, I'm good at fixing things. Let me do this. But also I just wanted to revel in like the beauty of the world and the good things, and just follow that. But the family and everybody was like, no, you you go get a job, you having a family, you having a wife, you having a kid, and then you just work until you die and you're miserable and you drink and you drink. That's just basically it.
It's so okay, so then if we kind of touch base on your parents a little bit, so they grew up in Italy, so they probably had a more fundamental life, a simplistic life. Can you describe a little bit of what that was like?
Yeah.
What were they like growing up?
So my mother is a later generation. She was born here. So like my mother grew up in the States, in the greater New York City area, which is where I'm back at right now. Um, but so my mother had a very traditional kind of 1950s. It was like an almost like waspy kind of family where it's like white collar college masters, like just get your good job and then work for a company, promote, and then retire. So it was very much a traditional, like, this is the route. You get the job, you go to college, you get the job, you have the kids, and then you retire. Whereas my dad's side, my mother was very like, she was loving, nurturing as best as she could be. You know, um, but my father growing up, it was a lot of chaos. He was having to sacrifice a lot. My grandfather had a heart attack in his 50s, and they had opened a restaurant here. And so my father had to drop out of high school. He wanted to be a baseball player, had to drop out of high school to run the restaurant for 2 years. And after that, my grandfather never even thanked him, or like both my grandparents, they never said, I love you. I know that my great grandfather was pretty abusive to my grandfather and his six siblings. Um, so I know there's a bit of that. There's a lot of generational stuff that I've been really trying to break, I guess, with my father's side. And I'm even still dealing with it right now. I moved back to the area 4 years ago to take care of my 91-year-old grandfather, and my wife came with me and helped support me through this. And I help her with her business. I do marketing and video editing and stuff on the side. and help her. But it's yeah, it's still something that I'm trying to work through. This is the biggest challenge that I've ever faced. And I'm there a lot during the week. I was just in the hospital with him for a month and a half. So it's been challenging, but like I'm starting to finally break free of the people pleasing and realizing through this situation that a lot of the guilt and shame does stem from my family training me to be like, you sacrifice for us because that's what you need to do, not within what you can do. It's just because we're going to love you by doing that. So
And
yeah.
sorry, I don't know if I missed it, but your father, was he also born in the U.S. or was he born in Italy then moved to the
No, no, no.
U.S.?
He was born in Italy, and
Okay,
he moved to the U.S. when he was 7.
gotcha. So yeah, there was very very traditional, and
Mhm.
typically with the traditional family dynamic is not that they're not capable. It's not that they're not capable of feeling more things. It's just that given the way they had to grow up, it causes them to get a very narrow view of things, and it kind of solidifies and calcifies. And then if you try to
Yeah.
like crack through it, it's such discomfort because you have to look at it from their perspective that, and it's not saying it's right or wrong. It's just it is what it is, that it gets so locked up and so tight that any time you try to show anything different, it is so uncomfortable. It is so unpleasant, visceral, like they even somatically will feel it. And you have to also know that their consciousness, their ego is filtered through the lens of the shame and the guilt and the anxiety of what I would imagine that given the way you described it, that your household probably grew up very much like you have to look a certain way also for your neighbors. You can't embarrass us in front of your neighbors. So did you guys grow up at all around like other Italians? Did you guys have like your own like
Oh,
community
huge.
center?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a community center, but most of the Italians owned the bakeries and the restaurants, so we were
Yeah.
all like over
Yeah.
each other's houses. And then
Yeah.
literally like
Mm-hmm.
still to this day, I'll be at my grandfather's and some random person will just walk through the back door. Like it's that very
Yeah.
old
Yeah. Yeah.
Italian like
I totally
it's
understand.
yeah.
I
And
totally
yeah,
understand. Yeah.
so huge Italian community, huge Greek community, huge Puerto Rican community over here. So like a really lively, like awesome amount of like super cool people
Yes.
in this area, which I love. Um, you know, but yeah, so big Italian community.
Yeah. No, I totally I fully understand because so I'm Armenian by background and I grew up around Armenians and Armenians and Italians in terms of the way they interact is very very similar, very high energy, same thing, doors are open, you can eat whatever you want from the person's fridge, you can it's like we're yelling but we're just talking. It's
Yep.
very very high energy. So I totally understand.
Yep.
And in fact I can understand the sort of there's openness to it, but at the same time, there's a lot of guardrails that you can almost even feel that if you step on the outside, it's like no one, people will let you know. They will let you know, and it's
Oh yeah.
you have to also know that understand that that's coming from their own lens, right? So their own filter and their projection is being launched onto you. Like they're having, I guess, in sort of secondhand embarrassment, secondhand shame, and it because you're within their realm and within their range, it's like, ugh, like just stop doing that. It
Mhm.
cringes them in a way.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand
Yeah.
that. Now, I want you to just touch on a little bit. You mentioned that you want to regain your creative spirit. That's what I remember
Mhm.
you wrote in the application. Can you touch on that a little bit? Like what's happening right now with that? Do you feel almost like creative block? Do you feel that this experience, your background, your whole life right now is causing you to just be so focused on that?
It's a mixture of a lot of things, but it definitely stems from the more I'm digging into this, the more I think it's really stemming from that narrative of shame that's kind of been like a baseline for me. Because when I do anything for anyone else, or I help somebody with their song, or I come up with a top line or like a hooker, I'm like, oh, there's a great keyboard part or guitar, whatever. I'm like, that's great. But then when I try to do it for myself, anything even when I used to post content, I would just try to do short videos. I'd put that up and then a day later I'd see it. And in the back of my mind, I hear, it's still you. Just effing POS. It's still you. There's just there's this devaluing of myself. And I do have a joke that I say that since I didn't really have a dad growing up, since he was always high, and now that he's dead, I always had to be my own disappointed father. So,
I see. Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
get it. Yeah,
yeah. So,
you formed to some degree your own father figure that sort of
mhm,
imposed itself onto you. The only downside is you can only go off of what you've known, and so you have
yeah.
imprinted the father figure that you grew up with. Okay,
Mhm. Yeah. So
so
it's just feelings of weakness and going back to the not feeling like enough, and that stems from the shame of just, and I'm trying to break that of like I don't need a family that isn't going to give me something that I'm never going to have, that has always kind of withheld something. I need to release that. I need to move on. So I'm trying to do things for myself to push forward that creative spirit. It's like it feels like a tiny little spark that I'm just trying to blow oxygen on to just actually, it's like I've got the tinder and it's like there's a little bit of something, but it's like the fire's not there yet. So I've been trying to do things for myself. Like this year, I hired a coach who is actually, he's on YouTube. Alex is Metamind Music. He's an amazing producer and he's helping me push through. I'm going through a year-long thing with him. And I'm like, if I have to, like, if I'm paying somebody to coach and investing in this, then this forces me. If I'm putting the money into it, then I have to try to start to learn how to be creative for myself since I'm doing this already. And a few months later, I have a song that I'm like, okay, I don't hate this. And like it's not perfect, but I'm trying to allow myself to like let that be okay. And like this is something that I did to the best of my abilities, and I'm trying to hope that by doing those things I can do that more. And I was actually mixing the track just before we got on, and while I was listening to it, I did get a little bit of that feeling of excitement and just like I'm enjoying this. This is making me feel free, and not just because I'm just like I'm going to listen to my tune because it's awesome. That's I don't, I have a problem with being proud of I have an issue with allowing myself to be proud,
yeah,
I guess.
okay.
Yeah.
So it seems like so far shame is would you say the predominant emotion, the
Hmm.
emotion that you are most not having a good relationship with?
Yep.
You would say it's way beyond what it's naturally supposed to do because there's a certain level of healthy shame, right? That's what prevents us from just like running around naked outside, right? Like
Hmm.
there's a level of shame that's important that keeps us
Hmm.
under a certain level of control. But yours, you would say, is completely run amok, and it's essentially a voice. So would you say it's a voice, images, or moving pictures that remind you of this and sort of tell you?
It's a mixture of a voice and moving pictures. My inner narrative is very picture based. I visualize. There's a lot of visualization for me. I'm on the spectrum too, but it's like high functioning. At least when I took a whole bunch of tests, it's like the CPSD plus the spectrum. It caused me to be like high functioning to for the survival and everything. But that's actually allowed me to figure out, okay, that's why some of these things are there. That doesn't make me weak. I'm just different, you know. Um, yeah.
So can you tell me on a given week, general week, how often are you critical, appointing shame on an action that you're doing or thoughts that you have? So just ballpark.
At least 4 days a week, maybe 4 to 5 days a week, and sometimes that'll be multiple different things. With the situation with my grandfather, having to put boundaries on when I can be there, that's sometimes because of their narrative um, that they've instilled in me of the guilt and shame. If I'm putting a boundary and taking care of myself, like even on Tuesday, I was like, I can't come over. I have a lot of work that I have to get done. And I was fighting throughout the day, just that feeling in my solar plexus of just like you're a piece of like you're a terrible person for not being there for your grandfather all the time. And it's like, no, I also didn't I didn't create these problems or this situation, so I cannot hold responsibility or guilt for that. I'm trying to just remind myself of that, but it's a hard struggle because there's anxiety that comes from that shame disorder. I guess it's like I don't have an anxiety disorder, I have a shame disorder. realize that all my anxiety just comes from that shame.
4 days a week. And is it when it comes up, how long does it last? And if it does last, what's the intensity of it? So from like a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I barely notice it, 10 being this is going to take me some time before I can level off and go back to doing whatever I was doing.
It's typically it'll fluctuate between about a 6 and a 10. It's very paralyzing to where it's hard for me to breathe. I can't think. Um, I have been trying to implement a lot of breath work, breath practices, the Buteyko and pranayamas and your Wim Hof and all of that stuff. And that has been helping with the regulation and trying to find more mantras and things to help with that. But yeah, it's a struggle. It gets real strong. Thankfully, my wife will be very helpful as well, um, to just kind of help calm me down or remind me to breathe.
Oh, yeah. Okay. No, that's really good. That's awesome. And
Yeah,
then in terms of how long it lasts, so it kicks in, how long does
yeah.
this go for?
Sometimes it can be for a couple hours. Sometimes it can be really for half the day or, you know, 3/4 of the day.
The days are right
Sometimes
off
it's the
when it comes up, right?
Yeah, and and like I'll be very real because my family, there's alcohol abuse issues in my family, and I'm very aware of that. And sometimes on those days, I self-medicate because I'm
Yeah.
too anxious, and I'm like I'm just gonna go get a tall boy and chug that down so that
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not shaking anymore. But at least I'm aware, and then I'm like, okay, I got to figure out something better than this. I need
Yeah.
to figure out some better coping skills because this
Mm-hmm.
ain't working. So I'm
Gotcha.
like, therapist, help me.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fun. So that's good you brought that up. So I'm curious. So you've been doing a little bit of breath work for yourself, and you've gone to therapy for some time. So what is it that you guys typically do in those sessions, and how has it worked out so far?
I mean, I've had so many therapists. I think I've had 8 or 9 different therapists at this point in the past 12 years. A lot of them missed, and then a few, medication managers, and all of them misdiagnosed me up until a few years ago. But my current therapist, she's great. She asks a lot of leading questions or digs into my questions, and she's really good about letting me kind of like come to the realizations by kind of guiding me through in that and a lot of that shadow work. It's really, really, really effective and like sneaky. Like I'm like, oh damn, how did we get there from this? But wow, it's amazing. And she's really good. I speak a lot in metaphors because sometimes it's hard for me to completely describe what I'm feeling. And she's really good about making note of those metaphors and bringing those up. Or like, here's the guy, like, why is the turtle coming up? Why is this one coming up? Why is the hole coming up? So um, those sort of like visualized narratives and like going through and then digging down into that and through these leading questions and guiding questions. It's been really helpful in the past year. Also, starting boxing in the past year has really helped with not only my breath work, but also my nervous system regulation. I think the combination of the breath work and boxing 4 to 5 mornings a week has really been helping too.
That's really good. Okay, that's really good. And next question I want to ask is, are you so there are different psychological types, right? So you have thinking, and this is a Jungian approach. So you have thinking, feeling, sensing, and intuition. Everyone will have a mix of all of them. There's no one person that won't have one, right? But to varying degrees, each person will have something more pronounced than the other. So which one for you is, you would say, out of the thinking, feeling, sensing, and intuition, is the most dominant?
Feeling is probably the most dominant.
Yeah, and I figured that. And
Yeah, for
then,
sure.
yeah, absolutely. And just to also clarify, feeling is, or I should say, sensing is almost like, you're in the presence of somebody that you feel this sort of body experience signaling to you that there's something unusual about this moment, whether good or bad direction. That's the feeling of a sensation. And then the feeling is much like you're walking past somebody who's, let's say, on the street, and you have this feeling of empathy and you want to reach out and help the individual. And then thinking, obviously, is people who stick predominantly in the realm of thought, where they like to stay in a more logical, reason based, common sense oriented mind. And then you have intuition, which is people who have a strong sense of what is to come. So the people often get confused between sensation and intuition. Intuition is not a forward feeling experience; it's a present experience. And then intuition is of something I feel is coming around the corner, whether good or bad or maybe just neutral. Is just something is alerting you to pay attention. So having said that, feeling is still for you the dominant force, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say it's like it's feeling for sure. And then it's kind of I feel like it goes back and forth with the sensing and intuition. It really depends on the situation. But the thinking comes from the feeling and the sensing, like analyzing. It's like I'm working from that and then I can sort of think about what I want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, for you it starts from the bottom up. For you it
Yeah.
starts from like you have this experience here, then it comes up into the realm of your thoughts and ego, and then once you go through a filtering process, then you go
Mhm.
ahead and manifest and express
Yeah.
it out.
I'm kind of speaking in improv terms, I'm kind of yes anding my experience. It's like
Okay,
just
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. And how is your intuition? How do you feel with it?
um for bad things, like a lot of times when bad stuff has happened in my family, I've I've sensed something for a while. Actually, a couple years even before I cut my father off, I just had this feeling he didn't have much longer left. He left, and even though I didn't believe it at the time, I knew that I needed to say it, even though I didn't believe it. And so I told him, I'm like, I forgive you, and I'm still trying to learn how to forgive him. Um, but about 3, 4 years before my wife and I moved up here to help take care of my grandparents, I kept saying to my wife, I'm like, I got a feeling I'm going to have to go back and take care of them soon. And then a few years later, my grandmother passes. I see the state of my grandfather's house, and I'm like, well, it's time now. She's like, yeah, you've been saying it for 3, 4 years. So, you know, I do get the sense of those kind of things. More than the good, but also I think I'm just like trauma trained too. So I'm constantly looking for that probably more than anything else. But it's definitely a lot of feeling and sensing for sure, like in my day to day.
Now, I want to touch base a little bit in terms of when you were that age. So when you were 5 years old and you saw your father stumbling around, you saw your mother probably uncomfortable about the situation, maybe even fearful. What was the experience of that boy at that age?
Scared, nervous, anxious, just I knew inside everything was wrong. This isn't right. Something's wrong. I can't. But with what I can from what I can remember from that, because the steps part, it's foggy, Um, but just being like, I wish this was okay. I wish I could do something. Like I wish I could. I want this to be okay. What can I do something? Can I do anything? You know. Um, Geez, I'm just starting like twitchy just talking about
So
that.
so 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 yeah,
Yeah,
what's happening right now?
yeah. I just kind of started to get like itchy in my arms. Like it was weird. It's just like started to think about that. It was like sometimes I stay with my therapist. I get the tremors, and then I tend to curl up a little bit when
Mm-hmm.
those things start to come up. Call that the turtle, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's what you call the turtle?
Yeah, like kind of it's like sinking away into the hard protective shell because I can't do anything to help. So I'm
Mm.
just going to try to hide myself
Yeah,
from
hiding.
the experience. Yeah.
And you said in that you said wish. I wish I can do something about it.
Mhm.
Is it roughly around that time when you felt this pressure to enter into this sort of adult figure role? Somebody who needs to sort of just make sure everything's okay, or if anything, needs to always stay on high alert, needs to pay attention to what's going on in the
Mhm.
house. Even you can get to the point where you probably can recognize footsteps as being those aren't good. This doesn't sound right. It's not going in an order that makes sense, or
Mhm.
voices, the tonality. Was that an experience that happened post once you were 5 years old? Moving on after that, was that sort of your existence?
Yeah, it was always there, but I did find out later on that even when I was a baby, my dad would take me in his, I can't remember if it was an IROC Z or a Corvette or what he had, but like he actually used to also run Coke from Florida up to the north, up to New York. Um, yeah, he was an interesting guy. And so yeah, I found out he told me one time when he was super messed up. I mean, he was just real lit. And he told me that he used to put me in the back seat when I was just like an infant and speed around the town to try to get cops to chase him to see if he could get away from them. Um, so and then also like some of my aunts and uncles would bully me and scare me. He would kind of team up with some of the kids in my neighborhood who would bully me and like create plans to scare me and stuff. It's weird. Yeah, I think it was another one of those the man thing. I was always like my mom referred to me as wimpy, so I think my dad also thought that too. So I think he was trying to like, you know, man me up, you know.
Okay, I see. Yeah,
Um,
I get it.
yeah,
Yeah,
one of those kind of situations.
yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Who was
And the
the
older I
boy?
got, and the more, also, I want to say the older that I got, and the more we got into the religious aspect, because I also went to a not a Christian private school as well. So it was all Christianity at all times. So the punishment thing and being a good boy and, being the perfect little disciple of Jesus, that was another whole thing to just maybe that'll make mommy and daddy accept me. Yeah.
Prior to that experience, if you can remember, it might be really hard, but prior to that experience at 5 years old, which is the earliest you can remember, who was that boy before that? What was he like? What would he experience? How would he view the world? How would he view nature? How would he have a relationship with his, perhaps not thoughts, you can't really think that much at that age, but how would he feel with his own presence? If you can remember.
Yeah. Um, he was curious and always just always trying to reverse engineer everything, like wanted to know how everything worked, wanted to meet everyone. I remember being a child sitting in my parents' car, wishing that I could go into every single person's car so that I could like know something about them and like get to know them and like be friends with them, you know. But always music just made me feel like like I was escaping from my body, and movies and television and things that made me laugh, just art, and even visually being in Italy and when were in Rome, and even as a kid just seeing these massive statues, just beauty and kindness and sweetness and caring and just all of these things that were viewed as weak or strange, because also I was a silly little boy too, and I still am, but that kind of got beat out of me, and I started doing improv and stand up for a while. Like I tried stand up and I realized, okay, I'm better just doing improv because I can't do stand up.
It's
But
hard to do, by the
just trying to
way.
get those things. Yeah.
That's hard to
Well,
do.
I realized the difference with stand up and improv and playing music. Like improv, they may not like your character. Music, they may not like your song, but you still got a guitar. In stand up, they just don't like you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, because
like they
I,
just don't like you.
well, because stand up, I always just on a side note, just stand up. I always think like you got to be so courageous to do that because when I say a joke in front of four people and it doesn't land, it stings. It hurts. It's uncomfortable. To imagine saying it in front of hundreds of people who are specifically there to say, make me laugh, and for it to not land, oh, buddy, it takes a lot of
Yeah.
courage to do it.
Oh, 5 seconds of silence, and then a guy saying, "When are you going to start telling jokes?" That feels like an hour and a half, and then that's just a slow motion. Be funny. I'm just like, oh God.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
But let's stay. Okay, great. That's good. Let's stay on the experience before you were before that before the 5-year old event. Just
Yeah,
stay
yeah, yeah.
focused there a little bit. I want you to try to be in that headspace of that curiosity, of that desire to help people simply because you just feel compelled to. I want you to also think and feel, I shouldn't say think, I want you to feel what you were like prior to that experience as vividly as you can, just right now. And then as you do that, I want you to tell me what's happening. What is happening
Mm,
somatically? And take your time with this, because I'm going to edit some of this just to like speed it up. So don't feel like you
yeah,
have
for
to
sure.
stay so,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like constantly talking and saying something.
Mm, yeah. Give me a second for this.
Hmm.
Um, I'm starting to feel something. There was excitement, joy, just happiness, again, freedom. And there was this, it was like a pull to just learn more about the world and to just want to be just surrounded by beauty, or even just sitting outside in autumn, in the Northeast. It's just gorgeous, and at dusk, it's just such a beautiful, silent time. Even, just as a young child, I would just like sit on the swing set and just listen to the trees blow, or I would try to like take apart my parents' VCR because I just wanted to know how it worked, or, like just, um, or just being like, oh, violin's cool. What's this? What's that? Huh? Who's that? Bill Withers. Oh man, that piano's gorgeous. I wish I could play that. It was just a very precocious, just desire to just find out and explore as much of the world that I could. And that was a part of the reason why I think I wanted to be a musician or even an entertainer in the first place, was because I just wanted to explore. And that was like an easy way to just travel and constantly meet new people. But also being, even at a young age, especially when now all the old Italians, even my dad, when he was at the times in Italy when he was sober, they were all so fun and charismatic and had the wildest stories and were laughing and commiserating. And I just love that feeling of love and community and feeling a part of something bigger, while I'm still doing something or adding to it myself, but making my own stories and being able to add to that experience.
Oh, and I want you to tell me also, when that boy is in that state that you just described beautifully, what does he want? What does he want?
That's making me emotional because it just goes back.
Let it.
He wants to feel free.
And freedom is also giving you what feeling with it that's packaged. I'm looking for a particular answer. It's packaged with it.
Joyful, happy,
Yeah. What other?
content. Not even just happy, because happy is a fleeting emotion, but joyfully content,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is a better phrase
That's
for it.
great.
Yeah.
They're all great. No, they're all great. But there's one particular word I'm looking for that the boy is feeling. He is feeling an overwhelming feeling of this while you're being adventurous, while you are interacting with music, while you are going on adventures. What is it that he's feeling that he's been wanting? It's one particular word.
Love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We finally got there. You finally dragged me into it.
I want you to sit in that for a moment. I want you to sit in it, not in thought. I want you to sit in it through feeling sensation.
Ooh.
Describe what you feel.
I feel a longing, almost like a listlessness, um, but like a deep desire to have that. It almost like it feels like where I want that to be, it's not quite there, but it's like I remember what that feeling felt like. And I remember that wholeness about it.
Where do you feel it right now?
Really
Exactly where?
solar plexus. It's right here. Right
Mm-hmm.
here.
And where do you want it? Where do you want it? Because
I
you
want it
feel,
right here.
and
Yeah.
instead of it being there, it's lower.
Yeah, it's like it's in my head and like in my gut.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
What I want you to do is I want you to lock in to even that small, I would spark, if you will. Zoom in on it. Okay. And when I say zoom in on it, I want you to quite literally imagine that it's a because you're an imaginative person. You said you like thinking and moving pictures, so I want you to imagine this as vividly as possible. It is a light, a moving light, and it sparkles and it glows, it moves, and I want you to, without applying an image on top of it, overlapping it, I want you to imagine that this is your deepest self. This is the self that's been there from the very beginning, that's been there through the moments where you listen to music, through the moments that between the gaps of all this shame, he would appear and give you moments of peace and clarity. I want you to lock in on it. You can close your eyes while you do this if you want, if you feel that'll be more immersive to you, but I need you to tap into it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already feeling it. I mean, even just the like just the idea of the phrase like the light is still there. It makes me feel very like it really wells me up with a lot of emotion.
And okay, let it flow. Okay, you have to let this part flow. This is really important. And I want you to lock in again. I want you to imagine that center light at the center of your gut. You should probably right now feel something in your gut, some sort of tingly, buzzing sensation. It can almost be confused for nervousness and fear.
Yeah,
Stay in that, but stay in that without movement. Because if you move, you're trying to divert your conscious attention. Stay in that. As you lock in, I want you to tell me, who is that at the center? Who is it?
it's a caring, soft person.
Keep going.
It's kind. It's kind. Sees the beauty in small thing and creates beautiful things. It wants me to be free from this just darkness. It's just these voices keep banging in my head.
Stay with them. Is is he upset?
It's angry
At who?
at all of these things that created these narratives and these voices and this sinkhole where my worthiness should be. I just mean that I'm enough, you know, that I'm capable, that I can put good in the world, that I that I can do good things, that that I'm not my father or any of the men in my family, that that I can be a good man, caring man, kind man, one that stands up for the right things, but puts beautiful things in the world.
Stay centered and stay calm. Meet him there. I want you to meet him where he is. Angry, frustrated, resentful, perhaps wants revenge in some way. I want you to hang out with him. Allow these emotions to play. Let them go through whatever they need to do. But what you're going to tell yourself, you can say it out loud or you can say it inwardly to your inner world, that you can go through all these emotions right now. I'm not going nowhere. I'm going to sit right here.
It wasn't fair and it wasn't right. The people I loved took advantage of my desire for them to love me, and my desire to make things better,
And your innocence.
and my innocence, my childhood, and my dreams, and my goals, and my hopes.
Your creativity scared them. But does that make it wrong?
I'm not too different. I'm just not who they
Mm-hmm.
wish me to be.
And so now you sit with your center and you communicate with them that regardless of what's happened, regardless of who I'll meet in the future that might shame me again, I will stay with you. And I want you to literally imagine you're delivering this message because, again, you're hanging out with them right now.
We're more than what we were trained and taught to be. We are valued. We are loved. You're not alone.
Who loves him? Who loves the
Uh,
center?
who
Yes.
I
Who?
I I
Yes.
I
Yes.
love
Very
God.
good.
Oh, gosh. Oh, I was about to just be like, screw you, man. No offense, Adam. Oh, oof.
Stay with it.
Oh,
Tell him that.
I love you. The true, natural you. The one that you were born to be. And that person is more than okay.
Is that person strong?
Yes.
Is that.
Strong,
Mm-hmm.
worthy, and in time he will become wise. He's strong and he's worthy and capable. It's not a mistake. You're not a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a mistake.
Is that center, this creative spark, this light, is there something wrong with it?
Oh,
No. So where has all of this existed? Where has all this pain existed?
in my chest, in my heart, and on my back,
Mm-hmm. In your head too.
in my head. Oh yeah. It was banging around. Just 1,000 tennis balls and negative thoughts
Mm-hmm.
smacking me in the head.
The reality will be, you stay there right now as I say this, the reality will be that your life and the hardships you've had have formed these complexes. Accept right now that these are a part of your life, but they do not have to be channeled in a way that is inwardly attacking. This force can be channeled into creative spirit, into growth, into understanding, making sense of the world. It doesn't need to invert back at itself. What this also means is that all these memories, all these pains, is what actually allows you to magnify what you want to do. Would you have the impulse to make what you wanted to make? Would you have the drive to do what you want to do had you had an absolutely perfect, stellar, no bump on the road at all?
So much of how I write comes from all of those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
My my desire to find those beautiful melodies within the melancholy or the sadness, you know, or even to allow me to be free from them.
There's
It's important.
beauty in tragedy. There's beauty in things that are objectively beautiful, but true poetry comes from tragedy. And so stay in the center still, hang out with him. Well, you'll also probably notice since we started doing this particular exercise, the thoughts might have been just a little bit quieter. The buzzing butterfly effect in your gut has been strong, and the weight will feel a little bit lighter, just a little bit. Is that the case?
Yeah, yeah. This whole thing and that light is just reminding me that that deep hope and that deep desire, the thing that still keeps me going. I'm like, oh, that is still there.
It's not that it's still there. It's not that it's still there. It's what you are.
It's what I am. It's what I am. Never left. It's just who
It's
I am.
not
It's
gone
what I am.
anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It can't go anywhere.
Yeah. Damn.
I want you now, staying there with him, bring forward all the memories that cause you pain. Every single one. But stay in that center as you do it. Watch how it absorbs everything. One by one, bring it in. Allow it to flow.
Oh. Oh.
Think about all of it, but stay in the center. Ride the storm. You might notice something that you're still here and you were able to go through all those memories, the memories that you chose to bring forward, while sitting absolutely still,
Oh.
like a man.
Oh. Lighter. Just like you said, just a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but in every sense of the word, weight and illumination. Oh, wow, my God. I've been trying to practice some visualization things, just to help myself with these problems, but it was almost like this exercise amplified the effectiveness of that like tenfold.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel calmer. I feel more centered. It that carrying those things, it feels less, you know, just just a little bit, but a significant little wow. Uh, and congrats, everybody! You got to see me ugly cry.
Well, the question is, are they willing to sit through the whole thing?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to say anything negative about myself right now. For the first time, I'm not going to immediately try to self-deprecate.
Good. Good. Yeah. Good.
Wow. I I've been just that buzzing. It's less too. That anxious buzzing is
Mm,
just God. I need to be like, man, that's this is an incredible exercise.
pretty good, eh?
Sorry, I'm just like, wow. I can't wait to tell my therapist about this. Holy shit. Sorry, I know. I'm just trying to.
That's
I curse
okay.
like a sailor.
Oh,
I've
I'm
been
telling
trying
you
not
right
to
now,
swear.
I curse a lot too, but I try to keep it chill. But whatever, man. Just
Yeah,
let it flow. Who gives a shit?
yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh,
So this is one of my. It isn't simply for me. Also, it is an exercise. But what I also see this as is you're simply connecting with who you actually are. Who you actually are is your deepest self. The deepest self that is simultaneously two things: perfect, absolutely perfect. It can't it can't be otherwise. But it can also simultaneously be a work in progress. It can be both
yeah,
those things. You're going to find peace when you exist within a paradox. The paradox is you have such creative spirit. You have so much you want to give, so much you want to do, but you were simultaneously tormented with thoughts of your past and the things that have happened to you. And you
yeah,
are trying to rid yourself of them. The act of ridding, trying to push away something that is not a physical object, that is more of the psyche, when you try to
yeah,
push it's going to come back at you. You can't, it's the act of fighting it gives it life, it gives it power. So, what we just did now was you access the deepest part of you. And when you access the deepest part of you, you're not fighting it anymore. You're just saying, okay,
mm,
I surrender to it. That doesn't mean you are unconscious of it. Quite the opposite, which is why we are able to sit in the center and bring in all those memories, all those emotions, and actually be able to hang out with it
yeah,
and to understand that it's a part of you. It's a part of who you are. It's your unique fingerprint. And it's the act of removing it is what causes the argument. It's similar to when you try to
mm,
force creativity. You can't force it. It just happens when you really don't try. So then,
yeah,
in a weird way, when it comes to these thoughts and these ruminating experiences, don't try to push it away. Don't try to fight it, resist it. Because once you clasp on, you begin the loop pattern experience
mm,
where you'll feel shame because you've had the thought. Then you have the thought, the shame will kick in, the shame will kick in. Now your present you will feel angry, being like, my God, now half my day is gone. And then you start going in this revolving circle. And as you
mm,
start to spin, this is why you said this can last 6 to 10, a couple hours, almost the whole day.
yeah,
Because what happens is as it starts to spin and spin and spin, I like to think of it as it forms its own gravitational pull, which is why
mm,
anytime you try to get out of it, it feels like it's this thing. You feel it psychically, like it's pulling you back into it.
yeah, totally.
The game here, the game is essentially to one, interrupt the beginning of the cycle. If you
Hmm.
can catch where does this start, it's going to start in one of a few places. It's going to start either emotionally or through thought. So you could be sitting there and something happens. It activates an emotion, and that emotion is shame. Then the shame plunges up into your head. Then you get some image of it, perhaps some proof or evidence from your past that you
Mm.
should feel this way. Once those things merge, then they kind of wrap themselves into a beautiful bow, which is your life story. And then it spins and it spins and it spins and it spins, and then eventually you find yourself helpless to it. The
Yeah.
goal is to catch it at the very onset. What is happening? So your objective, your goal would for the next, I would, and by the way, I'm going to be reaching out to you a week from now just to see how you've been doing. But from
Great.
now till then, what I want you to do is every day, this is something like no exception, every single day, you are going to be a watchful eye about what activates these things for you, what truly begins it. Be that kid that's curious and adventurous, that wants to figure things out. Do
Yeah.
that inwardly. So you need to figure out what's going on. What began this cycle? And you have to catch it in the moment. It's only in the moment. Once you start to catch it, I want you to build awareness of it. By that I mean contextualize it. Try to understand, where is this coming from? Is this just a memory? And if it is just a memory, then it's just something to be watchful of, because it's not the deepest center. Because you know the deepest center is, there's nothing wrong with it. It's where
Yeah.
your deeper power lies. And these things are just really there as a distraction. And again, you thank them because they're there to protect you. Although they don't do it in the best of ways, they overstep boundary. But that is where you can come in. You can vocally say, we're not going to go there today. I totally understand where you're coming from. I get it. You're trying to protect me in some form, but I think I'm good. You have to
Yeah.
not just set the boundary with the external world, you have to set the boundary with the internal world. And again, that doesn't mean you're unconscious of it, because if you do not pay attention to it, it still operates autonomously and it will influence everything you see, do, or think. And so you have to almost befriend these memories, befriend the complex, be friends with them. What was that saying? What's that saying? Like, keep your friends close, enemies closer. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. It's literally the exact same thing. Don't fight them. Don't resist them. Don't reject them. This is really important too. We often reject these experiences. We think of them as like these grotesque parts of ourselves.
Hmm.
They're not. They're simply just a part of your development. They're just a part of your story. That's what makes you. You need all of it. You need all of it.
Yeah.
And once you can really understand that, and you won't understand that right here, right now, perhaps you'll get a glimmer of what I'm talking about. But for you to really, truly feel it and know that to the bone, you need to have an absolute awareness of all of it. Where does this begin? Where does the loop start? When you start to catch it, you can actually learn to stop it, slow the spin. And when you can do that for the first time, I'm telling you, you're going to feel such power because of something you probably couldn't have done before, but you did. You literally did it right now. You
Mm.
you did it right now, and you can do it again. You just have to practice the same experience. Tomorrow, when you wake
Yeah.
up and you have this moment again, something activates you. Quickly get to the center, breathe, get there, feel the light, literally feel it, experience it, and allow that thought to enter in. Like, okay, go in, hang out. Integration is in a way is just being aware of everything that is going on within your mind, within your conscious
Yeah.
awareness, and trying to make as much as your unconscious conscious. The way you do that is not by resisting. Let it sink in, let it go in, and do it over and over and over, week after week, month after month. You will feel better. Everybody that I've ever done the long-term mentorships with, within the first month of doing the practice, you have to do it religiously. Within the
Yeah.
first month, the difference is night and day. They present themselves differently. Their shoulders drop. They have this sort of peace, but it's mixed with confidence that they never thought they had. So you just have to be diligent with it.
Yeah. No, no, what you're saying about that, like contentment and that peace, even just coming out of that, that was the first time I felt something like that in a really, really long time. And honestly, like that whole, this whole visualization and just seeing the light, um, and standing with it and being present with it, this felt like this was the first time I've looked into my own eyes in
Mm-hmm.
decades, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.